For thousands of years, the world's greatest empires made the same deadly mistake. They marched onto the Iranian plateau with weapons ready, certain they could erase this civilization forever. The Macedonian soldiers of Alexander the Great invaded this land. Hard Roman armies marched here. Arab armies arrived under the flags of a new religion, and the cruel Mongol groups of Genghis Khan swept through, leaving only piles of skulls behind. Any other nation would have disappeared forever after taking so many terrible hits. They would have blended into the mix of history, just like the Babylonians, the Hittites, or the Assyrians. But with Iran, something completely mysterious happened. Time after time, despite losing battles, losing their main cities, and being occupied, the Iranians did something no one else could do. They soaked up their conquerors. After just a few decades, the cruel invaders would start speaking the Persian language, building Persian buildings, using their government systems, and even wearing their clothes. Again and again, the East basically swallowed the West and the travelers. How has Iran managed from ancient times to today to force every major world power to deal with it? How did they keep their identity? And how did it happen that Great Persia, a country with a 5,000-year history, freely gave up its famous name, forcing the world to call it Iran? This is the story of how one nation created the idea of time we use today, turned politics into a holy war between light and dark, and learned how to lose battles to win forever. To understand how deep this civilization goes, we need to go far back in time. Usually, the Western world thinks of Mesopotamia, meaning Sumer and Babylon, or ancient Egypt, as the starting point of civilization. In this view, Iran is often ignored, and that is a huge historical mistake. Life developed naturally here. 50,000 years ago, early humans lived on these lands before being replaced by newer groups 36,000 years ago. But the real change started later. Experts have found city-like areas in Iran, like the Jiroft culture and the Sialk Tower, dating back 6,000 to 7,000 years. Clay pots from 4,000 years before Christ prove that one of the oldest civilizations on Earth grew right here, standing equal with Mesopotamia and China. The first major power in these lands was Elam, a state in the southwest of modern Iran, with its main city in Susa. The Elamites were so strong that by the 26th century before Christ, they were almost telling the Sumerians what to do. But the most amazing event happened in the 23rd century before Christ, when the Akkadian king Naram Sin went to war with Elam. The fight did not end with a simple peace. A written deal was signed. It promised Elam's freedom as long as they worked with a card on world issues. Think about that. This is the first recorded international deal in human history. The Iranian region was at the very start of global politics. Physically, however, the Elamites were closer to the people of Mesopotamia. The people we call Iranians today arrived later. Sometime between the 20th and 15th centuries before Christ, wandering tribes began coming down to this mountain area from the north. They belonged to a huge family of nations, representing its own branch. Surprisingly, their ancient language was a close relative of Latin, Greek, and the languages spoken across Europe today, including English and Spanish. Settling on these lands, they began calling themselves Aryans, meaning noble, and named their new home the Land of the Aryans. Over time, this word turned into the name we know as Iran. They mixed with the old culture of Elam and split into strong groups, the most famous being the Medes and the Persians. It was right here in these tough mountains and deserts that the main weapon of the Iranians was born. It was not wagons or special bows. It was an idea. Long before the start of Christianity and Islam, a religion was born on the Iranian plateau that changed how people think. Zoroastrianism. For the ancient Iranian, Life was not just a string of accidents or the changing of seasons. The world was seen as a battlefield of a total war between a god of light, truth, and order, and a spirit of pure evil, lies, and darkness. Most importantly, this religion clearly showed where this evil lived. The area of darkness was thought to be the wide plains where invaders came from. To be Iranian meant to be a fighter for light. Their whole culture, poems, and government were built on the idea of helping the forces of good. This idea gave the nation amazing unity, but Zoroastrianism did something even bigger. This tradition was the first in history to say that time does not move in a circle. Time moves in a line. The world had a beginning, and it will have an unavoidable end. A final fight between light and dark, a cleaning of the world by fire, and a final judgment. How did this idea take over the world? When the Persians took Babylon in the 6th century before Christ, they freed the Jews who were held there. Judea was a part of the Persian Empire for 200 years. During this time, Jewish thinkers took from the Iranians the culture of waiting for the end of time, linear time, and the final judgment. Later, these ideas moved into Christianity and Islam. Famous thinkers have admitted that Iran played the main role in finding linear time, the way we still think today. The first truly great state of these people was Media, formed in 670 before Christ. The Medes did not last long, but they managed to destroy the powerful Assyrian Empire. Their power was ended by their own relatives, the Persians. In 550 before Christ, a man named Cyrus the Great, who was half Persian and half Mede, joined his two groups together. From this union, he began building what historians call the Achaemenid Empire, the first superpower in history. Cyrus was different from the cruel leaders of the past. When taking over Greek cities or Babylon, he did not destroy their temples or make the people slaves. He built an empire on respect. His follower, Darius I, grew the borders from Egypt to India. Nearly 50 million people, half the people on earth at that time, lived under Persian rule. Darius divided the country into 20 areas, started a fair tax system, made gold coins, and built a path of roads where the fastest mail service in the world ran. But history does not forgive weakness. In a try to protect the empire, Cyrus the Great went into Central Asia to fight a tribe. And there, the great leader died. The battle was so violent that the Persian army was destroyed. According to old stories, the female leader of the tribe, seeking payback for her son's death, told her men to find Cyrus. She cut off his head and threw it into a bag full of human blood, saying, "You wanted blood, now drink your fill." Despite this tragedy, the empire lived on. We are used to thinking that the famous wars with the Greeks, the ones with the 300 Spartans, broke the Persians. That is a Western story. Yes, the Greeks protected their freedom, but for the giant Persian Empire, losing a few small cities was like a bug bite. The Persians simply changed their plans. They began giving money to Greek cities to make them fight each other. Finally, in 387 before Christ, the tired Greeks were forced to sign a painful deal on the Persian king's terms. What the Persians could not take with a huge army, they bought. Persia became the clear master of Greece without a single fight. The real disaster came later. The empire grew so big that a weak central leader could no longer control many different nations.
A young, driven king from Macedonia took advantage of this. Alexander, in 330 before Christ, crushed the Persian army. Alexander burned the grand city of Persepolis. It looked like the long history of Iran was over. From the ruins came a new state ruled by Greeks. And that is exactly when the Iranian way of surviving started. Eastern culture began to slowly eat its Western conquerors. Alexander himself started wearing Persian clothes and followed Persian court manners. The plan to make everyone Greek failed against the old Iranian way of life. In the 3rd century before Christ, a new tribe kicked the Greeks out and created the Parthian Empire. The Parthian leader called himself the King of Kings. For 500 years, the Parthians used fast horse riders and a famous trick shot to stand their ground against the Roman Empire, beating them many times in the Middle East. Then, in the year 224, a new golden age arrived. The Sassanid family took power. They came from the home area of the first Persians. They created a strong state where Zoroastrianism was the main religion. Society was split into groups: priests, fighters, workers, and common people. This created a system based on skill. Sassanid Iran was a superpower that fought hard wars for almost 400 years, first with Rome and then with Byzantium. But these centuries of constant fighting left Iran weak. By the middle of the 7th century, the Sassanid Empire was a failing giant. A new force coming from the deserts of Arabia used this, the Arab Caliphate. In 651, the Persian capital fell and the last king was killed. All of Iran fell under Arab rule. The time of the new rulers began. The Arabs brought a new religion, Islam, and a new language. The old religion that had fueled the Iranian spirit began to disappear. For any other culture, this would have meant the total loss of identity, just like what happened with Egypt or Syria. But the Persians did it again. Various Arab rulers tried to force the Persians to leave their roots behind. Yet after losing the war, the Iranians fought back with culture. The Arab Empire began to rely heavily on Persian workers, thinkers, and poets. Arab leaders used Persian ways of ruling. The Persian language did not just survive, it lived longer than many empires, and the best science and poems were still written in it. After the Arabs, a true disaster hit Iran. In the year 1220, Genghis Khan arrived from Central Asia. The Mongols did not just take land, they killed whole cities and destroyed old water systems. It seemed Iran would turn into a field for wandering tribes. But when the grandson of Genghis Khan started a Mongol state here, something amazing happened. The tough conquerors, used to living in tents, suddenly took up Islam. They made Persian the language of the state. They began building huge Persian mosques with blue tops and gave money to local thinkers and poets. At the end of the 14th century, history repeated itself. Tamerlane moved into these lands. He built towers out of heads, yet he also respected Persian culture. He took the best Iranian builders back to his city, and his family started a new age of Persian art and poetry. For almost 300 years, Iran was a mix of fighting tribes. But when taking the throne, they became Persians within a few generations. The Iranian way of life completely changed its invaders. Then, out of this mix, a man named Shah Ismail appeared in 1501. He brought the country together again. His family made Shia Islam the main religion, separating Iran from the rest of the Islamic world and the Ottoman Empire. Iran once again created its own unique identity. By the 19th century, Iran entered a time of big trouble. After losing wars with Russia, the country lost lands like Georgia and Armenia.
By the early 20th century, before the First World War, Iran was a place for a power struggle between the British and Russians. The country was split into areas of control. The British took Iranian oil, while Russian troops stayed in the north. Later, the Soviet Union even tried to start a new state in northern Iran. The country was struggling under the weight of outside powers. But Iran would not be Iran if it did not find a way out. In 1925, Reza Shah came to power after a takeover. He set a tough path toward building factories and modernizing. In 1935, he made a move that surprised the world. For centuries, the West had called this country Persia. This word was linked in Europe with old stories, rugs, and being behind the times. Reza said that was enough. He sent a message to all world officers. From now on, the country must be called by its true old name, the one they used for thousands of years: Iran. This was not just a name change, it was a statement. We are not a strange colony. We are a modern, strong nation with old roots, and you will respect us. The history of Iran is always a history of big changes. In the 20th century, the country was caught between the interests of superpowers. Decades of political mess and foreign meddling led to the country changing in the revolution of 1979. The king lost power, Iran became a religious republic, and ties with the West were cut. Today we see a strange paradox. In the mind of modern people, two different states exist at once. The word Iran makes most people think of tension, rules, fights, and sad news. Meanwhile, the word Persia has not gone away at all. It has a romantic, almost magic feel. Persia is linked to lost glory, beautiful poetry, and fairy tale empires. Two names, one land, and a constant, tough fight over how it will be remembered. Over its 5,000-year history, this culture built the best way to survive. When fighting Macedonians, Arabs, or Mongols, they did not go away. They changed their conquerors to fit their own world. They were at the start of civilization and created the way we see time. But maybe their biggest fight is happening right now, because sometimes, hidden behind the simple name of a country, is a quiet, hidden war. A war between who they were in the past, who they are today, and how the world wants to see them.